was a true story. It was about a black man who grew up in the West Side with us, and there was a store called, I forget the name of the store. I think it was Mulberry Market, or it was just the name of the road it was on. It was Mulberry Drive, but it was just Mulberry Market, and there was a black man who stayed out there. His name wasn't Curtis, but he was just a black guy, and he had an old dobro guitar. He kept it in his house right behind the store, but if you gave him some money, 50 cents or even a quarter, he'd play, if you wanted to, he'd play a song for you. And he'd break out his bottle and go, nah, and play the blues,
Play
he'd play
real
blues,
bottleneck.
Yeah, he'd play a blues song for you and sing sometimes. So we would collect Coke bottles, which the song says, drive all around the neighborhood getting them, and we go up and we cash them in and get the money and give it to Curtis Loew. But he would go right across the street to the wine store, the beer store, and buy a bottle of wine. We'd go up to him and we'd give him like a quarter, and he'd play for a minute, and he'd come out straight and just play a song and say, "Give me the money, boy." But when we would all get together, 3 or 4 of us, we put our money together. We give him like $1, $1.50, $1.42. I think a bottle of wine, cheap wine back then, was $1.25 or something. And he'd go across the street and buy a bottle and have 2 or 3 nips, and he'd play a little song, and then he'd have half a bottle be gone. He was into it. He was stomping his foot, and he'd take an old Coca-Cola crate, turn it upside down, and that was his beat. Boy, he'd
like a bass to kick it, like a kick drum.
And he'd he'd start playing, and he'd drink a little more wine, and he'd start singing and playing and kicking, and that was him,
And who's playing that bottleneck on that?
That's
that song?
Ed King, and I was playing all their other guitars, the leads, but. Yeah, it was Ed. Ed's a great slide player, and he's a real feeling player, and that's how Curtis played. But I keep saying Curtis, but it wasn't, but it is to me. I don't know. I'm sure that black man's dead and gone now, but to me, he is Curtis Loew. His tombstone should have Curtis written at the bottom of it, because he was the man.
You need the names of the songs and who wrote them. Okay, that was the only thing they were lacking, right? So when it came to the Ballad of Curtis Loew, I knew it was a song about a black guy, so I thought I'd do something funny and spell Loew as it's spelled, like Loew's Theaters, L-O-E-W, because who had ever heard of, this old black Jewish guy playing, and nobody else in the band has ever picked up on it, and I'm not going to tell them to this day, but I've always laughed at that. I thought that was real funny. I shouldn't have done it, but I couldn't resist.